They say the wolf never bows to anyone. But Elena watched him die slowly, piece by piece, while his own blood sharpened their knives without an heir to carry his name. Her name was Elena Mancini, and she became the most dangerous woman in Rome the day she agreed to carry a monster's child. Marco Il Lupo Rossi was dying, and everyone in the Italian underworld knew it. The Don of the Rossi family, the wolf himself, had built an empire on blood and strategy. For 30 years, his name alone made politicians tremble and rival families retreat. He controlled half of Rome's underground, owned legitimate businesses worth billions of euros, and commanded an army of loyal soldiers across 3 continents. But none of that mattered now. Cancer was eating him from the inside. 7 months, the doctors said, maybe less. His hands trembled when he tried to sign documents. His legs could barely carry him from his bed to his study. The man who once broke rivals with a single order now needed help to button his tailored shirts. And he had no son. 3 daughters. Alessandra, 28. Valeria, 25. Julia, 19. Beautiful, educated, ambitious. But in the Rossi family, in the world of Italian organized crime, only a male heir could inherit the throne. It was tradition. It was law. It was everything. Without a son, the family would fracture. Rival clans would carve up his territory. Everything he built would disappear like smoke in the Roman wind. His wife, Sofia Visconti, watched him deteriorate with cold, calculating eyes. Their marriage had been political from the start, her family's political connections for his muscle and money. 28 years of sleeping in the same bed, pretending to care. Now she was protecting her interests, making sure her daughters would inherit something, anything, before Marco's empire collapsed into civil war. When Marco became too weak to manage alone, Sofia made a decision. She needed someone to watch him, feed him, clean up after him while he slowly died. But she was smart. Too smart. She didn't hire a professional nurse. Those people asked too many questions and might notice things they shouldn't. She didn't hire from the usual agencies that supplied help to wealthy Roman families. Those workers had connections, references, people who would care if something happened to them. No, Sofia went looking for someone desperate. Someone foreign. Someone disposable. That's how she found Elena. Before we dive into Elena's story, like and subscribe. Tell us where in the world you're watching from. This tale of forbidden love, deadly secrets, and impossible choices is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand why Elena became the most dangerous woman in Rome. Marco Rossi had killed his first man at 17. By 25, he controlled 3 neighborhoods in Trastevere. By 30, he owned half of Rome's city council. Now, at 58, he sat in a leather chair overlooking his private garden, watching his hands shake as he tried to hold a glass of water. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The words still felt foreign in his mouth, like a language he'd never learned. 7 months, Dr. Lombardi had said, looking at the floor instead of Marco's eyes. Maybe 6 if the treatments didn't work. The Wolf of Rome, reduced to a medical statistic. His skin had turned the color of old newspapers. The sharp jawline that once made rivals nervous now hung loose over his collar. He'd lost 20 kilos in 3 months. His tailored suits looked like they belonged to someone else, someone larger, someone alive. Every morning, his valet helped him button his shirts because his fingers wouldn't cooperate. Every evening, he needed assistance walking to his bedroom because his legs forgot how to carry him. The Rossi estate sprawled across 2 acres in Perioli, where old money hid behind high walls and ancient cypress trees. The palazzo itself was a masterpiece, 17th-century architecture restored with billions of euros, frescoed ceilings depicting angels and demons, marble floors that echoed with every footstep. Security cameras disguised as decorative sconces. Reinforced doors hidden behind ornate woodwork. A fortress pretending to be a museum. 3 daughters. Alessandra stalked through the halls like she already owned them, her designer heels clicking against marble, her phone perpetually pressed to her ear as she managed her fashion business, or pretended to. Valeria spent her days at the tennis club, perfecting her backhand and her fake smile. Julia, the youngest, still played at being a university student, though everyone knew she attended more parties than lectures. Beautiful, educated, ambitious. But none of them carried the one thing that mattered, a Y chromosome. In the old families, tradition wasn't just custom, it was survival. Only a son could inherit the position of Don. Only a son could command respect from the soldiers, maintain alliances with other families, keep the empire from splintering into a dozen hungry factions. Without a male heir, the Rossi name would become a footnote in Roman history. Sofia Visconti Rossi understood this better than anyone. She'd married Marco 28 years ago in a ceremony that united her family's political connections with his growing power. Love had never been part of the arrangement. She came from Milanese aristocracy. He came from Calabrian violence. She provided legitimacy. He provided protection. A business transaction sealed with white dresses and empty vows. Now she watched him deteriorate with the same cold calculation she applied to managing their social calendar. Her daughters would inherit something, she'd make sure of that, but without a son, they'd be fighting over scraps while rival families carved up everything Marco had built. She made her decision over breakfast, watching Marco struggle to lift his espresso cup. They needed a caregiver. Someone to handle the messy reality of his decline. But not just anyone. Professional nurses asked questions. Agency workers had connections. No, she needed someone invisible. Someone foreign to Rome's intricate web of families and favors. Someone desperate enough to take the job and keep their mouth shut. Someone nobody would miss if things went wrong. Sofia pulled out her phone and started making calls. Elena Mancini had been 20 when her parents died. The police called it a car accident, brake failure on a mountain road outside Sorrento. But Elena knew better. Her father had borrowed money from the wrong people, and when he couldn't pay, accidents happened. That's how Naples worked. That's how the world worked when you were poor and desperate. The funeral cost 15,000 euros she didn't have. Her brother Luca was 16, her sister Chiara only 13. Someone had to feed them, keep them in school, keep the landlord from throwing them onto the street. So Elena did what her father had done. She went to the loan sharks. Just enough to bury her parents and cover 2 months' rent. She'd pay it back quickly, she told herself. Find work, hustle, survive. 3 years later, she owed 35,000 euros. Interest compounded like a disease. Last week, 2 men had cornered her outside the hotel where she worked mornings. Your father made promises, one said, his breath smelling of cigarettes and garlic. You inherited his debts. Pay up, or we visit that nice apartment where your brother and sister live. She worked 3 jobs now. Hotel maid from 6 to noon, scrubbing toilets and changing sheets for tourists who left better tips for their dog walkers. Restaurant server from 2 to 8, smiling through grabbing hands and crude comments from men twice her age. Then office cleaning from 10 until 2 in the morning, mopping floors in empty buildings while her body screamed for sleep. She made maybe 1,200 euros a month. The loan sharks wanted 800 euros. The job posting appeared in a Catholic charity newsletter her sister brought home from school. Private caregiver needed for elderly gentlemen in Rome. For 1,000 euros per month plus room and board. No experience required. Discretion essential. For 1,000 euros. Elena read it 3 times, certain it was a mistake. That was more than she made in 4 months of destroying her body. With that money, she could actually pay down the debt, send money home, maybe even save something. She didn't let herself think about what discretion essential might mean. Desperation didn't allow for questions. The train to Rome took 8 hours, the slow one, because she couldn't afford high-speed tickets. She wore her best dress, which was really her only dress that didn't have visible stains. Second-hand from a market stall, hem repaired with uneven stitches. Her shoes pinched. She'd grown since she bought them. The Rossi estate made her forget to breathe. She'd never seen anything like it, walls that seemed to touch the sky, gardens that looked like paintings, marble everywhere. A man in an actual uniform checked her name against a list before opening gates that probably cost more than her entire neighborhood. The woman who met her in the entrance hall looked like she'd been carved from ice. Mid-50s, perfectly maintained, wearing a cream suit that screamed Milan. Sofia Visconti, she introduced herself. Not Rossi, Visconti Rossi, with emphasis on her family name. You speak proper Italian? Sofia's eyes traveled over Elena like she was livestock. Not that Napolitano dialect? Yes, signora. My mother insisted on proper education. Elena kept her hands clasped, trying not to touch anything. Good. My husband is dying. Cancer. It's not pleasant. There will be vomiting, loss of bodily functions, pain. Do you have a problem with death? Elena thought of her father's crushed body, her mother who died 3 days later from what the doctors called grief, but Elena knew was a broken heart. No, signora. I watched both my parents die. Something flickered in Sofia's expression, not sympathy, just acknowledgement of useful information. The pay is €4,000 monthly. You'll have a private room, meals provided. Your duties are simple. Keep my husband comfortable, fed, clean. Administer his medications on schedule. Help him move around without injury. She stepped closer, and Elena caught the scent of expensive perfume mixed with something sharper, warning. If anything happens to him under your watch, if he falls, if he chokes, if his condition worsens too rapidly, you will be held responsible. Personally responsible. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Elena's mouth went dry, but she nodded. Yes, signora. Good. Sofia's smile was thin as a razor. You start tomorrow. Massimo will show you to your room. A mountain materialized from the shadows, 6'4", shoulders like a doorway, face mapped with scars that suggested a career based on violence. He looked at Elena once, assessing, then gestured for her to follow. As they walked through halls lined with art worth more than her life, Elena wondered what she'd just agreed to. But €4,000 a month. Her family needed €4,000 a month. She followed the mountain deeper into the palace. Elena's room was smaller than she expected, but nicer than anywhere she'd ever lived. Clean white walls, a narrow bed with actual sheets that matched, a window overlooking the garden. She unpacked her single suitcase in 5 minutes, 3 changes of clothes, a photo of her siblings, her mother's rosary. Everything she owned fit in one drawer. Marco's suite was on the opposite end of the palazzo, accessible through a maze of corridors that smelled of lemon polish and old money. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a view of Rome that looked like a postcard, terracotta roofs, umbrella pines, the distant dome of St. Peter's catching morning light. He sat in a leather chair by the window, so still she thought he might be sleeping. Or dead. Morning sun cut across his face, making him look translucent, ghostly. He'd been handsome once. You could see it in the sharp angle of his jaw, the aristocratic nose, the way his eyes assessed everything with predatory intelligence. But illness had carved away everything soft, leaving only bones and will. Buongiorno, signore. Her voice came out smaller than intended. Mi chiamo Elena. Sono qua per aiutarla. He turned slowly, studying her with eyes that seemed to catalogue every detail, her cheap dress, her nervous hands, the faint accent she couldn't quite hide. Napolitana? Si, signore. My wife hired you? A statement, not a question. Si, signore. A dry laugh rattled in his chest. Then you're probably here to kill me. Elena's breath caught. Signore, Relax, ragazza. The corner of his mouth lifted. If you were an assassin, you wouldn't look so terrified. Just dark humor. You'll need it in this house. The first week nearly destroyed her. Nobody had trained her to care for a dying man. She burned his coffee the first morning, added milk when he took it black and bitter. He just looked at the cup, then at her, and said, "Try again." No milk this time. The medications were a nightmare. Labels in medical Latin she couldn't decipher, pills that looked identical but did completely different things. The second day, she mixed them up. Marco spent an hour vomiting while she cried and apologized. "Write everything down," he told her afterward, his voice hoarse. "Times, doses, which ones interact. Make a system." She bought a notebook that night with money she couldn't spare. Created charts, color-coded pills, checked everything 3 times before each dose. Obsessive, but she couldn't afford another mistake. Helping him to the bathroom almost killed them both. She didn't know how to support his weight properly. They stumbled, nearly fell, caught themselves against the doorframe. He actually laughed, this rough, genuine sound that startled her. "If we both die," he said, "at least Sophia can't blame just you." Slowly, impossibly, they found a rhythm. Small conversations at first, the weather, whether he wanted the window open, if his breakfast was too hot. Then deeper. He told her about his father, a low-level enforcer who died before Marco turned 20, leaving him nothing but debts and enemies. How he'd built the Rossi family from that foundation of blood and desperation. She told him about Naples, about her parents, about Luca and Chiara. About the loan sharks and working 3 jobs and still never having enough. "You're strong," he said one evening while she helped him back to bed. His hand gripped hers, still trembling, but the grip fierce. "Stronger than anyone in this family. They've never fought for anything real. Just fought over what I've built." Elena didn't know what to say to that. But something shifted between them. He stopped being the dying Don and became Marco, a man who told bad jokes, who remembered how she liked her coffee, who asked about her sister's grades. And she stopped being just the hired help. She was becoming something more dangerous, someone who cared. 2 months passed like water through her fingers. Elena learned the rhythm of Marco's decline, the good days when he could walk to his study, the bad days when even breathing seemed to cost him everything. Dr. Lombardi visited weekly, his expression growing darker each time. One evening, after Elena had administered the night medications and was preparing to leave, Marco's hand caught hers. Not the usual trembling grip, but something deliberate, urgent. "Elena, I need to tell you something." His voice was steady in a way it hadn't been for weeks. "The cancer is spreading faster than expected. I have very little time left." She sank back into the chair beside his bed. "I'm so sorry, signore. I don't want your pity." His eyes locked onto hers, still sharp, still intelligent, even as his body betrayed him. "I want your help." "With what?" "Anything." Long pause. Long enough that she heard her own heartbeat, the distant sound of traffic from the street below. "I need a son." The words hung in the air like smoke. Elena's mind went blank, then flooded with understanding she didn't want to have. "Signore, I don't understand." "Yes, you do." He hadn't released her hand. "I need a male heir. Someone to carry my blood, my name, my legacy. Without one, everything I built dies with me." Italian tradition is absolute. Only a son can inherit the position of Don. Elena stood abruptly, backing away until her shoulders hit the bookshelf. "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. I've thought about this for weeks." He shifted in bed, the movement costing him visible effort. "You're the only person I trust. The only person who sees me as human instead of an asset or an obstacle. Your wife." The words came out strangled. "My wife hasn't touched me in 15 years. And she's too old now anyway, even if she wanted to. It would never work." "Then find someone else." Her voice rose. "Anyone else?" "Who?" Marco's laugh was bitter. "Every woman in my world would betray me the moment it benefited them. They'd tell Sophia, tell my daughters, sell the story to rival families. I need someone I can trust. Someone who understands loyalty because you've lived it, not inherited it. I can't. Elena's hands were shaking now, worse than his. I'm not asking you to love me, Elena. I'm not even asking you to stay afterward. I'm asking you to give me one thing before I die. One chance at legacy. One son to carry forward what I built. And what do I get? The question came out harsher than she intended, but she was past caring about politeness. Marco didn't flinch. 500,000 euros. 100,000 immediately, enough to clear your debts and send your family enough money to live comfortably for years. When the child is born, another 400,000. And protection. My men will ensure nothing happens to you or your family. Ever. 500,000 euros. The number made her dizzy. Luca could go to university. Chiara could have the childhood their parents wanted for her. She could buy an apartment, invest something, never worry about rent or loan sharks or working herself to death. But the cost. God, the cost. I need time to think. Take what you need. He leaned back against the pillows, suddenly looking ancient. But not too much time. I don't have much left. Elena didn't sleep that night. Paced her small room until she wore a path in the carpet. What he was asking was insane. Probably illegal. Definitely immoral. But was it worse than borrowing from loan sharks? Worse than letting her father's debts destroy her siblings' futures? Worse than working 3 jobs and still drowning? She thought of her mother, who died of a broken heart because she couldn't imagine life without her husband. She thought of Marco, dying alone while his family waited for the inheritance. She thought of the baby that might exist, an innocent life born from desperation and pragmatism. By morning, something had hardened in her chest. Not peace, but decision. She found Marco in his study, sunlight making him look transparent. See. Her voice was steady. I'll do it. His eyes searched hers for a long moment. You're certain? No. But I'm saying yes anyway. For the first time since she'd met him, Marco Rossi smiled. Really smiled. It transformed his face, showed glimpses of the young man who'd built an empire on nothing but will and violence. Thank you, Elena. You have no idea what this means. I have one condition. She stepped forward. Everything in writing. A contract legal, so nobody can claim I trapped you or stole money or whatever story they'll invent. Done. My lawyer will draw it up today. He reached for her hand again. You won't regret this. But she already did. Elena just agreed to the deal. The contract is signed, 500,000 euros and protection in exchange for an heir. But here's what she doesn't know yet. Marco's family is already plotting her death. 3 months from now, she'll be pregnant and trapped in a palazzo with people who want her dead. If you're not subscribed, subscribe right now because the next chapter involves poison, threats, and a conversation that will make your blood run cold. You don't want to miss this. Back to the story. Dr. Conti arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, carrying a leather briefcase that looked older than Elena. Stone-faced, gray suit, eyes that had witnessed too many secrets to be surprised by one more. He laid the contract on Marco's desk without ceremony, 20 pages of legal Italian that made Elena's head spin. Sign here. And here. Initial each page. His voice was dust-dry, professional. 100,000 euros deposited immediately into an account bearing her name, numbers she'd never imagined seeing. 400,000 euro held in trust, released upon the child's birth and DNA confirmation. Protection clauses. Non-disclosure agreements. Contingency plans if Marco died before the birth. Every possible outcome mapped in bloodless legal language. Elena's hand shook as she signed. Marco's trembled worse, but he managed. Witnessed and notarized, Dr. Conti said, stamping each page with finality. May God have mercy on all involved. He left without another word. The act itself was clinical. Awkward. Nothing like the romance novels Chiara sometimes read. Marco's body was failing, medication and determination barely enough. No passion, no tenderness, just 2 desperate people making a transaction in dim lamplight. Elena closed her eyes and thought of her siblings. of freedom, of anything except what was actually happening. But somehow, impossibly, it worked. 3 months later, Elena woke at dawn and barely made it to the bathroom before vomiting. Then the next morning. And the next. Food smelled wrong, the coffee she used to love made her gag. Exhaustion hit like a physical weight. She knew before she took the test. She bought it from a pharmacy in Testaccio, far from Perioli, where nobody would recognize her. Locked herself in a public bathroom. 2 minutes that felt like hours. 2 lines. Positive. She stared at the plastic stick for 10 minutes, hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. Inside her, cells were dividing, becoming something new. The heir to the Rossi Empire. Marco's last hope. Her ticket to freedom or her death sentence. She couldn't tell which yet. Marco's reaction was everything, joy so pure it looked like pain. Tears streaming down his gaunt face as he gripped her hands. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We don't know if it's a boy yet, she reminded him, trying to inject reality into his euphoria. It is. His certainty was almost frightening. I know it is. This is fate, Elena. This child will save everything. She wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe fate cared about desperate girls and dying gangsters. When do we tell them? She asked quietly. His expression hardened, the wolf surfacing through the dying man. Soon. But carefully. My family will react badly. Will they hurt me? They'll try. His eyes found hers fierce despite his weakness. But I won't let them. I promise you, Elena. Nobody touches you while I'm alive. The unspoken question hung between them like smoke. And after you're gone? Marco called the family meeting for Saturday evening. Formal dining room. Everyone required to attend. Elena was instructed to stay in her room for now. Let me handle this first. She pressed her ear against her bedroom wall, heart hammering. Sophia's voice drifted through, cold and irritated. Why this summons, husband? If this is about changing doctors again, it's about the future of the Rossi family. What about it? Alessandra, sounding bored. I have an heir. Silence. Complete. Total. Like the world had stopped breathing. Then chaos. What are you talking about? Sophia's voice could cut diamond. I'm talking about a son. My son. My heir. That's impossible. You're dying. You can barely. And yet here we are. The child will be born in 6 months. A boy. The future dawn of the Rossi family. Who is the mother? Alessandra's voice sharp with suspicion. Elena held her breath. Elena. The explosion was immediate, volcanic. Valeria's shriek pierced through the walls. The maid? You got the Napolitana maid pregnant. You've lost your mind. Alessandra. Sophia's voice turned to venom. How dare you bring a bastard into this family? That girl is nothing. She's a servant, a nobody from the slums of Naples. Enough. Marco's roar shook the walls. Elena had never heard him that loud, that commanding. The dying man vanished, replaced by the wolf who'd ruled Rome for 3 decades. That girl has more honor than all of you combined. She cared for me when you were counting my money. She treated me like a human being when you were planning my funeral. And now she carries my son, the heir to everything I built. This is insane. Alessandra. We're your family. Your daughters. We deserve. You deserve nothing. His voice was steel. You've done nothing. You've contributed nothing. All you've done is wait for me to die so you could fight over the scraps. Silence again, but different now. Dangerous. I'm making this very clear. If anything happens to Elena, if anyone in this family touches her, harms her, threatens her in any way, I will cut you from my will completely. Every single one of you. You'll get nothing. Capito? No response. Capito? Si. Sophia's voice like ice forming on glass. This meeting is over. Get out. Footsteps. Angry, storming footsteps. Doors slamming. Then silence. Elena slid down the wall, hand pressed against her still flat stomach, tears streaming down her face. The war had begun. The palazzo became a mausoleum overnight. Nobody spoke to Elena directly anymore, but she felt their hatred like a physical presence. Alessandra's eyes followed her through rooms, cold and calculating. Sophia's smile when they passed in hallways was all teeth, no warmth. Conversation stopped mid-sentence when Elena entered, replaced by loaded silence. She started noticing Massimo everywhere. Not obviously, he was too professional for that, but always there. In the garden when she took air. Outside the kitchen when she fetched water. A shadow that never left. Boss's orders, he said when she finally confronted him in the hallway. You don't go anywhere without me. Is it that bad? His scarred face told her everything his silence didn't. Marco's paranoia intensified with his decline. He insisted Elena eat every meal in his room, food he'd personally watched the cook prepare. Had Massimo sweep her bedroom twice daily for cameras, weapons, anything suspicious. She'd find him awake at 3 in the morning, staring at nothing, hands trembling from more than illness. They're plotting, he told her one night, his voice barely above a whisper. I can feel it. Just waiting for the right moment. Then send me away now, before it's too late. Not yet. Too early. If you leave now, they might track you down before the baby is born. Once you're far enough along, once everything's arranged. A coughing fit cut him off. Blood spattered the handkerchief he pressed to his mouth. More blood than yesterday. Time was running out faster than either of them wanted to admit. The threat started small. A note on her pillow and signed, *, leave while you still can. *, her toothbrush replaced with one that had clearly been used, a violation, a warning. Clothes torn in her closet, blamed on careless laundry staff who suddenly couldn't be found. Then it escalated. Elena found rat poison in her morning tea, just a few pale grains floating on the surface. Easy to miss if you weren't looking. But she was always looking now, inspecting everything before it touched her lips. Massimo investigated. Found nothing. No proof, no witnesses. But they all knew. They're testing you, Marco said grimly, his anger making him look almost healthy for a moment. Seeing how far they can push before I retaliate. Trying to make it look like accidents so I can't prove anything. But the danger extended beyond the family walls. Word had spread through Rome's underworld like blood in water, drawing predators. The Rossi Dawn was dying. No heir. Empire in chaos. Then suddenly, an heir. A pregnant nobody from Naples who could produce the next Dawn. Rival families saw opportunity in her death. The Moretti family knows about you, Marco told her, voice tight with frustration. The Calabrese are asking questions. Even the Sicilians are interested. You've become a target for every family that wants to carve up what I built. Security increased. More guards. More cameras. The gates stayed locked, visitors vetted, deliveries inspected. Elena couldn't leave the compound at all now. The garden became her entire world, beautiful and suffocating. I'm trapped here, she said one afternoon, standing at the window watching Rome continue without her. You're protected here. Marco's hand found hers, grip fierce despite the trembling. Trust me, Elena. Just a little longer. Once I get you out, once you're safe in America, they won't be able to touch you. Will you be alive to see that happen? He didn't answer. They both knew he wouldn't be. At 4 months, Elena was showing. A small bump she couldn't hide anymore, couldn't pretend away. She took her daily walk in the garden, Massimo maintaining his 10-pace distance, when she heard voices by the koi pond. Alessandra and a man Elena had seen before, Lorenzo Gallo, Alessandra's fiancé. Dark suit, slicked hair, eyes that calculated profit in everything. They hadn't seen her yet. We can't wait any longer. Lorenzo's voice carried across the manicured lawn. She's showing now. In a few months the baby will be born and we lose everything. What do you suggest? Alessandra's tone was ice. An accident. A fall. A miscarriage. There are ways to handle this without it looking suspicious. Hell, She's a pregnant girl on marble stairs, practically writes itself. My father will know. Your father is dying. In a month, maybe 2, he'll be gone. We just need to make sure that baby doesn't make it to term. Elena must have gasped, some small sound of horror she couldn't contain. Massimo was in front of her instantly, hand moving to his waistband where she knew he kept his gun. A wall of muscle and violence. Alessandra and Lorenzo spun around. For a moment, nobody moved. Elena could hear her own heartbeat, could feel the baby, Marco's son, moving inside her. Lorenzo smiled slowly. You should be more careful, Elena. Pregnant women are so fragile. Anything could happen. A slip on wet tile. Bad food. These old buildings have so many hazards. Massimo took one step forward, hand still on his gun. Try it. See what happens. The air felt thick enough to choke on. Finally, Alessandra grabbed Lorenzo's arm. Let's go. Now. They walked away, but Lorenzo looked back once, that smile still playing on his lips. Elena's legs gave out. Massimo caught her before she hit the ground. Inside, he said. Now. As they walked back to the palazzo, Elena understood with perfect clarity Marco's protection would die with him. And she was running out of time. Marco's voice came from the darkness of his room, startling Elena as she delivered his evening medication. You're leaving tomorrow night. She'd been expecting this, had felt it coming in the way Massimo watched her more closely, how Marco insisted on finalizing documents with Torconti. But hearing it made her heart race anyway. Where? New York. Massimo will drive you to a private airstrip outside Rome. My jet will take you to America. I have people there, men I've trusted for decades, who will keep you safe until the baby is born. And after? The question came out smaller than she intended. Marco coughed deep, rattling wet. Blood stained the handkerchief he pressed to his mouth. More than yesterday. After, you'll have more money than you can spend in a lifetime. You'll never have to work again. Your siblings will be taken care of. University, apartments, whatever they need. And my son. His voice cracked. Broke completely. My son will grow up safe. Away from all this darkness. Elena sank into the chair beside his bed. Will I ever see you again? Marco's eyes filled with tears, the first time she'd seen him cry. No. Her own tears came then, hot and unbidden. Despite everything, the transaction, the danger, the impossible situation, she'd grown to care for this dying man. He'd shown her kindness in a house full of knives. Protected her when she had nothing. In his twisted, complicated way, he'd saved her. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. No, his trembling hand gripped hers with surprising strength. Thank you. You gave me hope when I had none. You gave me a future. You gave me peace. They sat in silence, hands clasped, while Rome breathed outside the windows. Both knowing this was goodbye. Both knowing it wasn't enough time. Marco announced at breakfast he was sending Elena to the hospital for a routine checkup. The lie landed smoothly, Sophia barely looked up from her espresso. Alessandra and Valeria didn't care enough to ask questions. But Elena caught Lorenzo's eyes narrowing across the table, suspicion flickering behind his polished smile. He suspected something. She could feel it. The day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Elena packed a small bag in her room, just essentials, a change of clothes, the photograph of her siblings, her mother's rosary. Massimo had arranged everything else, a new American passport with her face and a different name, cash in multiple currencies, tickets that didn't exist in any database. At 11 p.m., the palazzo finally slept. Elena crept out of her room, bag clutched to her chest, heart hammering so loud she was certain someone would hear. Marco waited in the hallway in his wheelchair. He shouldn't have been out of bed, could barely sit upright, but he'd insisted. His face was gray in the dim light, skeletal, but his eyes were bright. Go, he whispered. And don't look back. Elena bent down, pressed her lips to his forehead. His skin was cold, paper-thin. Addio, Marco. Addio, Elena. His voice was barely audible. Take care of my son. I promise. Massimo materialized from the shadows like a ghost. We need to move. Now. They made it through the palazzo without incident, past sleeping guards, through corridors she'd walked 100 times, out the service gate where a black Mercedes sedan waited, engine purring, headlights off. Elena climbed into the back seat, her whole body shaking. Massimo slid behind the wheel, checked mirrors, pulled smoothly onto the empty street. Rome at night looked different. Ancient and eternal, all shadows and golden streetlights, the Colosseum passing like a ghost of empire. Elena watched through the window, memorizing it. She might never see this city again. The airstrip is 90 minutes outside the city, Massimo said quietly, his eyes constantly checking mirrors. Boss's jet is fueled and ready. Pilots are paid and loyal. You'll be in New York by morning. Elena nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in her throat. Her hand rested on her stomach, feeling the small bump where Marco's son, her son, was growing. For months along. Halfway to safety or destruction, she couldn't tell which. They left the city behind, ancient buildings giving way to countryside, darkness swallowing them whole. Elena allowed herself one moment of hope. Maybe this would work. Maybe they'd make it. Maybe she'd survive this impossible thing. Then she saw the headlights in the side mirror. 2 vehicles, closing fast. And she knew Marco's family had been waiting for exactly this. They drove in silence for 20 minutes, Rome's lights fading behind them like dying stars. The countryside swallowed them, darkness broken only by occasional farmhouses, distant and indifferent. Elena's hand rested on her stomach, feeling the baby move. Safe. Still safe. Then she saw them in the side mirror. Headlights. 2 vehicles, closing fast. We have company. Massimo's voice stayed calm, but his hands tightened on the wheel, knuckles going white. 2 black SUVs accelerated, pulling alongside them. Elena saw men inside, silhouettes with sharp edges. Armed. Hold on. Massimo floored it. The Mercedes shot forward, engine roaring, but the SUVs matched their speed. This wasn't random pursuit. They'd been waiting, watching, planning. One SUV pulled ahead, trying to cut them off. The other stayed on their tail. Classic pincer move. Trap them, force them to stop. Get down. Massimo shouted. Elena ducked just as the passenger window exploded. Glass and gunfire. The sound impossibly loud in the confined space. She screamed, covering her stomach with both hands, praying to a god she wasn't sure listened anymore. Massimo didn't slow down. Instead, he yanked the wheel hard right, slamming their car into the SUV beside them. Metal crunched, shrieked. The SUV swerved wildly, losing control, crashed into the guardrail in a shower of sparks. One down. But the second SUV rammed them from behind, hard enough to snap Elena's head forward against the seat. Pain exploded in her neck. Stars burst across her vision. Almost there, Massimo muttered through gritted teeth. Just hold on. More gunfire. The back windshield shattered, spraying glass like rain. Elena felt something hot graze her left arm, sharp, burning. Blood bloomed through her sleeve. I'm hit. How bad? Massimo's eyes stayed on the road, one hand on the wheel, the other reaching for his gun. She tested the arm pain, but it moved. I don't know. Can you move it? Yes. Then you're fine. Stay down. He took a sharp turn onto a smaller road, tires screaming. The SUV followed, relentless, still firing. Bullets tore through their trunk, their doors, punching holes in metal inches from Elena's head. Then she saw it runway lights, cutting through the darkness like a path to salvation. And there, waiting at the end, a sleek white jet. Engines already running, stairs down, freedom so close she could taste it. There. She pointed with her good arm. I see it. But the SUV was right on them. And worse, more vehicles appeared from the other direction. 3, maybe 4, blocking the road to the runway. They were trapped. Massimo made a decision. He yanked the wheel, driving off-road, cutting directly across the grass toward the jet. The car bounced violently over rough terrain. Elena's head hit the ceiling. Her stomach lurched, please let the baby be okay, please, but she couldn't stop to check, couldn't do anything but hold on. The SUV followed, but heavier, slower on uneven ground. They were pulling away. 20 meters to the jet. 15. 10. They skidded to a stop. Massimo was out instantly, gun up, firing at the pursuing vehicles in controlled bursts. When I say run, you run, he ordered, not looking at her. Don't look back. Don't wait for me. Just get on that plane. What about you? I'll handle them. Go. Elena scrambled out of the car, legs shaking so badly she almost fell. The jet stairs were down. A flight attendant stood at the top, waving frantically. Run. Now. Elena ran. Her feet pounded across the tarmac. Behind her, gunfire erupted loud, constant, the sound of violence and dying. Shouts in Italian. Metal hitting metal. She didn't look back. Couldn't look back. 10 meters. 5 meters. She reached the stairs and started climbing. That's when she heard Massimo scream. She turned. He was down on his knees, blood spreading across his chest in a dark stain that looked black in the runway lights. But his gun was still up, still firing, buying her time even as he died. Men poured out of the vehicles, 6, 8, 10 of them, all armed, all running toward the jet. Close the door, the flight attendant screamed at someone inside. Go, go, go. Strong hands grabbed Elena, pulling her inside. The doors slammed shut. Locks engaged with a heavy thunk. Through the window, Elena watched Massimo collapse completely. Watched the men reach his body. Watched one of them, Lorenzo, she realized with horror, his face clear in the lights, kick him once, then turn toward the jet. He raised his gun. Bullets hit the fuselage, loud metallic thuds. The jet was moving now, engine screaming, starting to taxi down the runway. More bullets. One shattered a window 2 rows behind Elena. The flight attendant tackled her to the floor. Stay down. Stay down. The jet accelerated faster, faster. Through the floor, Elena felt the wheels rumbling, felt the engine's power vibrating through her bones. The men were chasing on foot now, still firing, but falling behind. Then that beautiful, impossible moment, the wheels left the ground. They were airborne. Elena lay on the floor, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. The flight attendant, Italian woman in her 30s, professional despite the chaos, helped her into a seat. Are you hurt? Elena looked at her arm. The bullet had grazed it, bleeding but not deep. The baby, she gasped. We have a doctor on board. He'll check you. But first, let me stop this bleeding. She worked quickly, hands steady like this wasn't her first emergency. Who are you? Elena asked. Someone Mr. Rossi trusted. I'm Giovanna. I've worked for him for 15 years. He told me everything. Asked me to make sure you got to New York safely. Massimo, Elena's voice broke completely. Giovanna's face darkened. I saw. I'm sorry. Is he dead? I don't know. But he saved you. That's what matters now. Tears streamed down Elena's face. That man, that loyal, scarred, silent man who barely knew her, had died to protect her. To protect this baby. The doctor came, older, gray-haired, kind eyes that had seen too much. He confirmed what her heart already knew. The baby was fine. Your heart rate is elevated. You're in shock. But physically, you and the child survived. Elena was given a private cabin. Real bed, bathroom, luxury she couldn't process. Giovanna brought food, but Elena couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Just stared out the window at darkness, replaying everything. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marco. She read it 3 times, tears blurring the words. Then typed her reply, *, I promise. I'll tell him everything. Thank you for saving us. Rest in peace. Asterisk. She pressed send. Delivered. Then, read. 30 seconds later. Asterisk. Addio, Elena. Be happy. Asterisk. That was the last time she ever heard from Marco Rossi. They landed at a private terminal in New Jersey 12 hours later. Elena stumbled off the jet, arm bandaged, legs weak, looking like a refugee from a war zone, which, she supposed, she was. A woman in an expensive charcoal suit waited at the bottom of the stairs. Sharp features, efficient posture, intimidating in the way only powerful attorneys can be. Ms. Mancini. I'm attorney Sophia Chin. Mr. Rossi's international counsel. Welcome to New York. Her handshake was firm, professional. How are you feeling? Elena could barely form words. Exhausted. Terrified. Alive. Sophia nodded sympathetically. We have a car waiting. It will take you to your apartment in Manhattan. Fully furnished, paid for. You'll have everything you need. And Marco? The question came out broken. Sophia's expression softened, the first crack in her professional armor. He passed away this morning. Rome time. Peacefully, according to his doctors. The words hit Elena like a physical blow. She'd known it was coming, had prepared herself, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. He was really gone. The man who'd saved her, protected her, given her a future she never could have imagined. Gone. His will is being executed as we speak, Sophia continued as they walked to the waiting Lincoln. 80% of his estate goes into trust for your son. The remaining 20% is divided between his wife and daughters, with specific conditions. What conditions? They cannot contest the will. They cannot make any claim on the trust. They cannot attempt to contact you or the child. If they violate these terms, they lose everything. Will that stop them? Sophia's smile was thin as a knife edge. It will slow them down. Mr. Rossi was very thorough. He anticipated every move they might make and blocked it legally. She paused. But they're dangerous people. Legal barriers won't stop them forever. You need to be careful. The drive into Manhattan was quiet. New York looked overwhelming, so different from Rome's ancient beauty or Naples' chaotic warmth. All steel and glass and perpetual motion. But anonymous. Vast. Safe. The apartment was in the Upper East Side, a pre-war building with a uniformed doorman who nodded respectfully as they entered. 4th floor. Facing the street. Elegant, spacious, with high ceilings and large windows that let in pale winter light. Rent is paid for the next 5 years, Sophia explained. There's a bank account in your name with $80,000, your initial payment converted. More will be transferred monthly for living expenses. When the baby is born, the main trust activates. You'll have access to approximately $3 million for immediate needs. The rest remains in trust for your son's future. And if something happens to me? The trust passes to your son, with guardianship assigned to trustees Mr. Rossi selected personally. Your child will be protected no matter what. She handed Elena a small device, sleek, expensive-looking. Mr. Rossi also arranged private security. 2 former FBI agents will be monitoring this building 24/7. Press once for help. Press twice for emergency evacuation. Even in death, Marco was protecting her. One more thing. Sophia produced a thick envelope, sealed with red wax bearing the Rossi family crest. He asked me to give you this. For your eyes only. He cared about you very much, Sophia added softly. More than I ever saw him care about anyone. You gave him something precious in his final months. Peace. After Sophia left, Elena walked through the apartment slowly. The bedroom with its enormous bed. The kitchen, fully stocked. The second bedroom, already set up as a nursery. Crib, changing table, everything a baby could need. Marco had thought of everything. She sank onto the sofa and finally let herself break down completely. Sobbing for Marco, for Massimo, for the insanity of the last year. But also crying from relief. She was safe. Her baby was safe. They'd made it. Eventually, she opened the envelope. Inside, a letter in neat Italian handwriting and a photograph of a young Marco Rossi, handsome, smiling, full of life. On the back, asterisk, per mio figlio. Così saprà che sua padre era una volta Giovanni e pieno di speranza. Asterisk. She read his letter 3 times, tears blurring the words. His confession, his hope, his final gift, the choice he wanted for their son. At the bottom, taped to the photograph's back, a small key. Chase Bank, Park Avenue. Box 4427. 6 months later, contractions started at 3 a.m. on a cold February morning. Elena pressed the panic button. Within minutes, a doctor and nurse arrived. Within 10, she was heading to Mount Sinai Hospital. Everything Marco promised. Everything arranged. Labor was long, painful, terrifying. But at 4:47 p.m., as snow fell outside the Manhattan window, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Perfect. Red-faced. Screaming with life. What will you name him? The nurse asked. Elena looked down at her son, Marco's son, their son, and saw his father's eyes. Sharp. Intelligent. Already curious. Leonardo, she whispered. Leonardo Rossi. A name that carried history but didn't trap him in it. A name that let him choose who he'd become. Welcome to the world, Leonardo, she murmured as he gripped her finger with his tiny hand. Your father loved you so much, even before you existed. As she held him, Elena thought about Marco's letter. About the choice he wanted Leonardo to have. The apartment, the money, the trust, all tools for freedom. But also the safety deposit box, the Rossi name, the empire waiting across the ocean. I'll tell you everything when you're old enough, she promised her sleeping son. About your father, about where you come from, about what you could inherit. But the choice will be yours, amore mio. Always yours. Outside the hospital window, New York continued. Somewhere across the Atlantic, the Rossi estate stood empty. Sophia, Alessandra, Lorenzo all plotting, waiting, watching. Legal documents wouldn't protect Leonardo forever. But for now, in this moment, Elena held her son. Safe. Alive. Free. And that was enough. Closing hook. Welcome to the world, Leonardo Rossi. Your father died protecting you. Your mother survived hell to give you life. You are the heir to an empire built on blood, the son of a monster who found redemption in his final days. But you're also just a baby. Innocent. Full of possibility. 20 years from now, you'll face a choice. Reclaim the throne in Rome and rule the underworld your father built? Or walk away and live the honest life your mother dreamed for you? Can a boy raised on love and freedom survive in a world built on violence and tradition? Can kindness coexist with power? Can the son of the wolf become something his father never could, a good man who's also strong enough to protect what's his? The Rossi family is waiting. Lorenzo and Alessandra are consolidating power. Rival families are circling. And in a safety deposit box on Park Avenue, secrets wait to be discovered. Leonardo Rossi's story is just beginning. Want to know what happens next? Will Leonardo choose the throne or freedom? Hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video and share it with your friends. Tell me where in the world you're watching from, your country, city, and the time. I love seeing how far the story travels. Drop a comment. Should Leonardo reclaim the Rossi Empire or walk away forever?